Ukrainians. Our guests are Frank Burgdörfer, member of the board of the European Movement in Germany, also Aleksis Pekkalin, vice president of the European Movement in Finland, Svetlana Stefanovic, Secretariat, head of the European Movement in Serbia, and also Aleksis, a colleague, manager on international relations. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. The floor is given to Mr. Frank.
Welcome. We are happy to be here and to inform about our visit to Ukraine. We came here for three reasons, basically. The first reason was to inform our member organizations, to give them a chance to learn about the current situation in Ukraine. Because in the general public, but also in civil society, in Germany and in other countries, there is a lack of knowledge about what is going on in Ukraine and a lack of ability to really interpret events because there's no understanding, no detailed understanding, no framework which enables people to really assess exactly what is going on and to determine what it means. So we wanted to give a few people a chance to really see what is happening here and to really understand it. The second idea was why we came here to create chances for more cooperation. So just to give people a chance to meet people in Ukraine who do similar things in similar organizations, to learn that very often Ukrainian organizations are sometimes even more professional than the ones in the West, that they have their very specific experience during the last years, that they know that they need to be professional because their work is very, very important and that Westerners even can be impressed here by what they find. Our hope is that this will lead to more collaboration between the two sides. The third reason for coming here was that we believe that the European movement as a whole, as a network of civil society platforms from all over Europe, is only complete if all important democratic countries in Europe are part of it. And we think there is a gap if Ukraine is missing. And we would like to inform Ukraine about the existence of the European movement and our interest in having also Ukrainians among us. What we did during these days was the first day we spent for getting to know Kyiv and for learning about Maidan. So participants saw documentation, which was quite emotional and shocking for them to see it again, what really happened here 2 years ago. And then we explored the city, the places where all that happened, and we had our discussions on how this influenced the country. Second day, we were in the parliament, and the topic of the day was the current political situation. We were talking to Euro-optimists, we were talking to people from think tanks. We visited the German political foundations who are here, just in order to learn how they perceive the situation, and we visited different NGOs. Tuesday then was a general day about NGOs, so we met people from Reanimation Package of Reforms, and we met different organizations, or we met organizations who deal with IDPs and with the effects of the revolution here. We learned how the revolution has changed the situation of civil society in Ukraine fundamentally. And this morning we had a talk about Ukraine's future in Europe with the Polish ambassador, Jan Piekło, with David Stulik from the European Commission. And we're just discussing in detail where Ukraine is heading and what is necessary in order to create a good future for Ukraine and how people like us, interested in Europe as a whole, and people in Ukraine can collaborate in this direction.
Дякую, пане Франк. До слова запрошується...
Thank you. And now the floor is given to Aleksis Pekkalin.
Have been very interested in sort of, you could call it a neighborhood policy in the European Movement International, and also in, of course, because I'm a vice president and member of the board of the Finnish European movement, and there is too little attention given to, for instance, Ukraine in Finland. and Ukrainian problems and Ukrainian situation. It was during the Maidan, there was, of course, but after that it has sort of diminished, and people are starting to forget, because it's not in the media, not in the news anymore. And so my object is to sort of tell Finnish people through our organization and try to influence our members in the board, because our organization is sort of very well known and very well respected, and also we have members of parliament in our board and of the almost all political parties, and also of the trade unions. And the very interesting thing was meeting with the new sort of free labor union representatives here, because we have 3 vice presidents, and one of them is the chief of international affairs of this biggest trade union in Finland, which has more than 1 million members. We have only 5.5 million people in Finland. So, and to learn that still an old Soviet type sort of fake trade unions are working here, it would be very helpful to inform this, our biggest trade union, that there might be some kind of a help from our side to establish these Solidarność type new free trade movements.
Дякую. До слова запрошується пані Svetlana Stefanovic.
Actually, having in mind that the best way to learn and to transfer knowledge is from your own experience, our role during this visit was to share our experience, because we had a similar situation as you have here in Kyiv and Ukraine. And the best way to improve and maybe to go step forward and to try to avoid some obstacles during your European integration process is to learn from similar experience, or to see how it was functioning in some other countries. In Serbia, we had really the similar way of going through reforms, and the importance of civil society organization was crucial. And we tried to establish contacts with the people here coming from different civil society organizations in order to establish maybe some new channel of communications, and to try to share our experience, because we tried through our European integration process to learn from our countries from neighborhood through regional cooperation, but also on the international level. And this network of organizations that are part of European Movement International give that platform to learn and to involve others that could be interesting to help in this process. And I think that we can look on this at some kind of mentoring as well, because if you have the 2 ways of communications, you listen to others and then share your experience, then we can all learn together. And if you involve people, your results will be even better. It's always good to hear what were the mistakes during that process, and how you can just run through some process maybe faster. But it's also important to have in mind that the path is really long, and that you need to start to learn very fast, but also when you have some kind of support that is coming abroad from some broader network, then is much easiest for you. We know, because we learn on the harder way how to deal with some problems during our integration process, and we are still learning. So we also heard very interesting stories from your perspective, and we see a number of areas where we can share our experience and where we can jointly work on maybe some future projects.
Дякую. До слова запрошується пані Леся Соколик.
Thank you. Being a Ukrainian participant of this project and actually working in the field of small business development, I should admit that from this perspective, even from this perspective as well as from other ones, we need to intensify the ties between Ukraine and Europe. and actually establishing a platform of organizations and institutions sharing the common goal to build common Europe, a member of which Ukraine is strives to be, is a very interesting and inspiring initiative. Ukrainian side can be a partner inspiring European movement as a whole. And I consider such initiatives like this networking trip to Ukraine to be very important steps in order to in this direction. And I can also mention right now some results from this networking trip. However, the project has not ended. Firstly, I can speak about the rise of awareness of organizations of civil society. We had a lot of meetings and open meetings, and I should admit that many Ukrainian NGOs are interested in promoting cooperation with European partners. During these discussions, the representatives of European organizations could build a picture about possible ways of cooperation in the future. One more important thing is that I believe that after this trip there will be a lot of ways to cooperate. For example, I know even some participants, they arranged the meetings in order to discuss the possible ways to collaborate. Generally speaking, I think that such initiatives are very fruitful. Thank you.
Thank you, dear colleagues. Do we have any questions? Yeah, please introduce yourself and ask your question.
My name is Jörg Dresche. I'm from Germany, freelancer, and I would like to know, are you the first time here? And if yes, why do you come so late? It's almost 3 years after Maidan.
We are not the first time here. We are the first time here. Our organization is not the first time here. Collaborating with a country like Ukraine, which is in a very difficult situation, is difficult, especially if there are many things which are not really clear yet, and if you're not familiar with the country. So we had to learn that collaboration does not simply start by individual people coming here and talking immediately about looking immediately for local partners and trying to establish some kind of exclusive partnerships. Because usually then these partnerships only lead to contact with individual organizations. But what we aim at, we are a very inclusive platform on the European Union side, having many, many different organizations. And we hope to collaborate with Ukraine in the way we are used to. And what we have to learn is that for Ukraine, given the current conditions, there is certainly, well, there's opportunities for Western contacts are something scarce, something which are a certain, which are rare, let's say it like that. That means everybody who has access to it has a certain tendency to monopolize that. And for that reason, we saw that we need a broader approach. We need to make clear that there are many different opportunities for many different organizations and people. And what on the Ukrainian side will be necessary in order to benefit from collaboration with us is that also on the Ukrainian side, these organizations collaborate in order to be accessible for us or to be partners for us. And on that path, we just saw that it is wrong to push too hard for immediate partnership, but that we rather need a broader approach, that we need to address many people at the same time, that we need to look for concrete cooperation, that we need to look for opportunities to get to know each other first, and then having trust, we can establish the kind of broad partnerships which we are looking at. So it's a kind of second attempt, this time with a different strategy. We're coming with many people, showing we are diverse, and just informing about the European movement, but focusing on concrete results like concrete collaboration, concrete networks, and trusting that over time this then can finally lead also to the establishment of maybe a formal national platform of the European movement in Ukraine, which needs to grow first and then be implemented. We have all time of the world because there is, of course, it is necessary that it happens, but we need to give it the time necessary. And the shape of this project just reflects this learning effect that we saw. Not push too hard, give it time, create opportunities, look for concrete results, and then see what happens together with the Ukrainians.
Okay, some more remarks or next question? Okay, next question.
My name is Andrei Mihel, Institute of Liberalism. We have 3 representatives from Europe, from different parts, from North, from Finland, from Serbia, from Germany.
4, she's also from Europe.
Yes,
just to tell you.
Yes, but she lives here. I hope so. A lot of people from abroad do not nothing about Ukraine, maybe from Chernobyl, maybe football and Maidan, but you already visited Ukraine. Today or tomorrow you'll leave our country. So what is your expectation before visiting and after expression? How you feel the country? What new you opened? Because we're in the central part of Europe. Thank you.
Yes, to be completely honest, well, Finland is quite near to the Soviet Union, and the road from the airport, and when it was this buildings, old Soviet-type buildings, it reminded very much of it. But it came to my mind really quite soon that, so what, this is a free country. It must, because it was the same situation with Estonia. They were very near to us and very dear because they are of the same language group. And you could see how fast it was first real Soviet republic, but very, very fast it became a Western state. And I know that you are, because I understand now that you have chosen the right way, the way to Europe, to liberty, to democracy, rule of law. And I welcome you, everybody, to join us. And I understand it only takes us, it's only time, and it has to take some amount of time in order to change. Everybody has done it. We had, after the war, very difficult economical situation. We did not get Marshall money from the Marshall Plan because Soviet Union did not allow us. Instead, we had to pay for war reparations, although Soviet Union attacked us twice, and we had to pay for it. So, and we lost territory, and we lost many people. Almost 100,000 Finns died in there. But in the end of 50s, we were almost like Sweden, because everybody knew that you have to work hard. And everybody worked over time and with small wages, but that's the way.
Actually, I didn't expect anything, because I learned from our experience that it's always bad to create some picture on the things that you see on TV or that you read in a newspaper, because it's much better when you know people. But when you are experienced from the first hand, I must admit that your city is beautiful, that in some points it really is very similar to Belgrade. So when I walk, I didn't have so much time to walk around, but still a few parts of of Kyiv really remember on Belgrade, and I actually have that feeling always that every city, if you look from your side and from your part of the Europe, you can see that we are all have similar stuff. For example, I don't know, similar monuments or similar architecture. But it's even better when you are here, and actually thanks to organizations that were organizing all the programs, we had insight in what there is really doing here on a different levels, and what actually are the main obstacles, and how you are proceeding in your daily life, which is really important for us, because when we return, first you will share your thoughts with your colleagues, friends, and families, and probably you can motivate them to visit Kyiv and Ukraine as well. I was lucky, I mentioned that I really have a good friends here, so it was a little bit easiest for me, and I will be actually return here for 2 weeks, so I really suppose that maybe that's a good start of new cooperation. Yeah.
We have 1 minute left.
1 minute left. Okay, I've been here more often also to prepare this. The first moment is, the first time you arrive here, you think, okay, it's Central Europe, it's nothing so special. And if you see Kreshatik and you know Stalin Allee or Frankfurter Allee today in Berlin, it's the same architecture. Do you feel familiar? The second thing is you discover there are some cultural differences. People collaborate differently, speak differently, organize differently. When you want to realize something, you need to get used to that, and sometimes it's also annoying, but probably it was annoying for Ukrainians too. And the third thing you realize is that this country is terribly impressive with regard to its people. The situation is extremely desperate. It could hardly be worse, but the optimism and the stubbornness of Ukrainians, how they simply go on and just trust in themselves, is truly impressive and very inspiring. Thank you.
Thank you, dear colleagues. At this point, we have to finish our press conference. Looking forward to seeing you here in the nearest future. Take care. Шановні колеги, наступна подія буквально за кілька хвилин.
The next hour briefing will be in several minutes. Thank you.